Welcome of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast, brought to you as always by RUDIS. Matt, how's it going, dude?
Going well. How'd your weekend go? You had some busy things going on in Milwaukee, huh?
Yeah, the whole last week I was busy. Man, I had a picture taking crew from ESPN the magazine come out. I had last week Flo came out and filmed a little bit. I had my buddy Lamart in town, who he's doing we're called Funky Fight Camp, and actually that's gonna debut on therudis.com. So that's a project we're doing together. We had a Daniel Cormier clinic. I had a couple appearances, a couple media interviews, and the UFC. So yeah, it was a really busy weekend for me. How about you?
And on top of that, they bumped your fight back, right?
Well, that was when did I know that? Last Wednesday or Thursday, I feel like that news came out. And yeah, so that was, that was crazy because January 26th is not too far away, and I had all my travel plans and everything all set up, and then I also had I think my press conferences. I don't have final confirmation, but my press conference is probably getting moved, so I had to change my Christmas plans around a little bit. So yeah, I had a lot on my plate last week. And then on top of that, the Daniel Cormier messed up on his travel plans, so then I had to move. His clinic was originally Thursday night. I had to move to Friday night, so then I had to get the venue booked for Friday night. I had to get both people who were bringing masks to change to Friday night. I had to give a bunch of refunds, and yeah. Damn! Wow! Now, Matt, you're making me. I was feeling like maybe I wasn't that busy, but you're making me feel like, oh my gosh, my last 5 days was insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
So was there any discussion of you bumping to an earlier card, or did they just say we're going to bump you to March?
No, originally they asked me to be the main event for Brooklyn, which was the debut on ESPN. I said yes. Robbie said no. So they were forced to move TJ and Henry to that card, right? The January 19th card, because they were on January 26th. And so then they were left without a main event because TJ versus Henry was the main event. They were trying to force Tyron Woodley into it, but he obviously had a hurt hand. I was then trying to get the main event against Usman or Colby. It obviously didn't work out, and then I got moved to March. So yeah, that was kind of the breakdown of everything.
So who's on your new card now?
Well, they haven't announced who's gonna be the main event. They've only announced a few fights for it. I'm one of the only few. So obviously we're a little bit of ways now because they're gonna really focus on. They got the ESPN debut on January 19th, which is it's on their streaming service, which they're gonna try to push really hard. And then they also had the regular ESPN debut in February, along with the pay-per-view in February. So I think we're not going to see a huge amount of hype about UFC 235 for a little bit. And then obviously they have the end of the year card, which is December 29th, which has 2 title fights on it. So, yeah.
Well, the natural question now from the wrestling fans' perspective, since you've got a couple months now, you going to jump back into Midlands?
I am waiting. So the original reason I really wasn't wrestling Midlands because I had a press conference on December 29th in Vegas. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's going to be moved, which obviously would only leave me 10 days to enter the tournament or so. So I'm going to try to find out about that. And then I'm considering, because I wouldn't be able to make 174 anymore, but I would probably just hop in there at 184. So we will, obviously, that got put on the back burner. So we will see what's going to happen here. I'm still waiting on word. So yeah, hey, let's get into some wrestling. I feel like I was just me and you were on the phone talking about my crazy life.
Yeah. So originally, I didn't think there was going to be a ton to talk about, but after a number of dual meets and a number of individual matchups, there's like plenty to talk about.
Well, you know what happened? I mean, I think that for us, Matt, one of the things that you and I can talk about, because we both wrestled at a high level, is we can really break down matches better than almost anybody can, from the technical perspective. And I think, when there was less wrestling, you and I both kind of picked, I don't know, it's 5, 6, 7 matches, and we really looked at from 2 duels that we're going to talk about today. And when I look at those, there's a lot to talk about in every match and big and broader implications. But I actually want to start out with a little bit of a rant. I kind of hinted at this to you, but I haven't told you what my full point is. And so I don't know if you'll be opposed to me. I don't know if you'll be agreeable with me. I'm not sure where exactly you're stand. So here's my rant. And so I don't want anyone to get this confused. If you say, I think freestyle is more exciting, I like to watch freestyle more. Okay, that's your opinion. I don't have a beef with it, right?
Yeah.
But Willie and Christian, and listen, I listen to every episode of FRL. I'm not a hater of these guys. I really enjoy their commentary for the most part. I like most of their takes for the most part. But I think this take that they keep repeatedly having is terrible. And the take is scoring in Folkstyle wrestling is bad. And so let me provide you, and I'll get into what brought this up, but let me provide you with a couple of things here, Matt, from argument. Number one, if you watch 100 matches, how many matches do you feel like you'll come away with and say the wrong guy won because the scoring is incorrect?
Out of 100?
Out of 100.
5.
So I was thinking even less. I was thinking maybe 2 to 3.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
And
I would say, I mean, it's a very, very small percentage.
Well, and so what you got to do is you got to take out. I'm not talking about like, hey, one guy takes the other guy down 3 times and then gets thrown to his back and pinned. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. Right? I'm talking about specifically you watch the action and you're like, wow, that guy was better, but somehow he didn't win. And you know, and
so you're talking about like timing of escapes, guys escaping at the end of the periods.
Yeah,
it's like it ends up 2-1 and then 4-2 and then circumstance. Yeah, and then a guy gets 1 takedown, and he wins the match.
But well, even that, Matt. I mean, that's not that what you're thinking about there. That's not the fault of the scoring system, right? That's circumstantial. That's guys not doing the small details. Like, man, if you're a coach and a wrestler lets another wrestler go with 4 seconds out of the period, tell me you're not flipping out at him.
That's shame on us.
You're gonna chew his ass. If you're wrestling and he's up 2-0, he lets the guy go with 4 seconds left, you're gonna be pissed at him. I guarantee you, Matt, on Monday after that duel, you're gonna address whatever that wrestler is and say, why did you do that? Are you gonna chew his butt or not?
No, exactly. Not only will I chew it after the match, but it better be a point of emphasis every day leading up to the match. It's something that you preach. I mean, short time rideouts are critical.
And so that wouldn't necessarily be the fault of the scoring system, right? That's we all understand. You and I, as good wrestlers, we both understand. Hey, man, if you don't ride people out at the end of periods, or if you're the bottom guy, if you don't get an escape with short time left, your chances of winning the match go down exponentially.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying, and I kind of get with what those guys are talking about. So they're saying a takedown, superiority on your feet should be
So I think what they're doing is they're discounting positions. So let's take the very, very specific match. And I have done this exercise before, Matt, and I know how it turns out. And it's just so okay. So if we go in this match, Nick Reenan is far superior on his feet. He gets 3 takedowns, which accounts for 6 points, and Taylor Venz gets 4 escapes, which accounts for 4 points. Okay, so the score is 6-4. Everyone's saying, "Wow," because it has 3 takedowns to 0. That's a very close match. Okay, so here we go. Nick Reenan got 0 rideouts. Okay, so he did not ride out at the end of any period. So meaning you're not doing a good job on top if you don't stay on top any period. Furthermore, to emphasize the fact that he was so bad on top in this specific match, he had 4 attempts on top to 0, which means he rode for less than an average of 15 seconds. Riding someone for 15 seconds is not hard, Matt. That is a very, very, very short amount of time. So you're showing on top there, you're very, very bad. If you can't ride someone for 15 seconds, that is bad riding. Okay? Is that fair? Just tell me if that's fair. Don't give me any commentary. Fair or not fair?
Fair.
Okay. Now, you're so bad on bottom that you won't even choose bottom. So you don't deserve points there. So you're inferior there also. So there's 3 positions. There's neutral, there's bottom, there's top. You've proved you're inferior in 2 positions. You're superior in 1. But due to the fact that you're so superior in 1, you're good enough to win the match. Now, okay, so that's good, but it was close. Now take the other one. Say he's actually better in all positions. If Nick Reenan gets 3 rideouts Taylor Venz does not choose bottom because he knows he's not getting off bottom. Nick Reenan chooses bottom because he knows he is good on bottom. He's going to get riding time. Now, this match just went from 6-4 to 8-0 because he's better in all three positions. That's like, I feel like that is so like what the score should be. If you're better at all three positions, you're obviously going to have a much, much larger point spread.
No, I mean, I wish I could argue the other side, and I kind of see what those guys over there are talking about, but that's the point of wrestling. There's three positions that you have to master. You can't just say, I want to do this. And I think that's kind of what younger kids like to do. It's like, because wrestling on your feet is fun, right?
Yeah.
You get to score, you get to be creative, but there's also, a lot to be excited about mastering the top and bottom positions. And I think, for me as a coach, one thing I always stress to my guys every single week, I'm like, hey guys, minimum going into every match, we should be up 2-0.
Yeah.
Because we're going to ride the guy out. We're going to get riding time and we're going to escape. That's how important and how critical I thought those were. Like, at times I put those two positions above wrestling on your feet, because those 2 points are so critical in high level situations that, man, you better get off bottom and I better be able to ride you.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend a lot of time in those areas to understand how critical those areas of execution are. So yeah, I mean, for Reenan, hey, good for you. You're good on your feet, but that's only one third of college wrestling.
Yeah. Get a couple. I mean, honestly, Matt, if he even just gets a couple, if he rides out 2 of the periods and he averages more than 15 seconds per top appearance, he wins the match 7-2, and it's not even slightly competitive. I mean, yeah. I mean, and that's not too much to ask. Hey, finish on top a couple periods, ride more than 15 seconds per time on top. That's not, and then it's 7-2. It's not a competitive match. It's a fairly dominant performance by Nick Reenan. And so, obviously we're not picking on Nick Reenan. This is just a great example of what we're talking about. So that's kind of why we're using him as the focus.
No, and I think if there's another match we're going to be talking about, that's Penn State, Arizona State. And if you want to talk about a team that understands the importance of riding their opponents.
That's so funny, Matt. I was just gonna say to you, I was gonna use this as a transition to the Penn State match because we're talking about that. But how many Penn State guys get stuck on bottom, and how many Penn State guys don't get riding time when they get 3, 4, or more chances on top?
It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. They're getting it every single time, and they're getting away on bottom damn near every single time too.
Yep.
I mean, they're elite in every single position. Okay, well
I was even just going through real quickly as you were breaking down the Reenan match. I was trying to go through all the top guys from 25 through heavyweight. And I would say, by and large, every number one guy is superior on top and bottom.
Well, the obvious one last year would have been Kyle Snyder. He pretty much played catcher and release, and obviously that made it hard for him to get a bunch of bonus points. For example, in the Penn State duel, he was trying to play catcher and release with Nick Nevels, and he wasn't able to get the points necessary for his team to win.
And I think with Snyder, I mean, that was strategy by necessity, right?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't really care.
He didn't care, number one. And do you really, at 225, 230 pounds, do you want to go under Adam Kuhn if you don't have to?
Well, I honestly feel like riding at heavyweight is pitting at heavyweight is easier, but riding at heavyweight is harder because of the dynamics of the body and everything else.
Right. So for a guy like Snyder, it's not like he was deficient in those areas, but when you're giving up 40, 50, 60 pounds to an opponent, I mean, the amount of effort you're going to have to exert to actually ride a guy and actually get off bottom, like he definitely could. Yeah. There was no doubt about that. But is that the smartest way to execute given his body type and giving the weight, the weight that he was giving up? So I think, could he have done it? Yes. Was it the smartest thing? No. But if you look at all the guys right now, you look at Suriano, you look at Gross.
Spencer. Think about Spencer Lee. That's one guy we don't have.
Spencer Lee. I mean,
he's like automatic for a 4-point turn. I mean, he's almost automatic. And so then right away, because he's so superior on his feet with the first takedown and so superior on top, the match is 6-0 almost every first period. And then it's like, okay, he's just not going to lose. Once he's up 6-0.
And then you go up, 133, you look at Gross, similar situation. He's going to get on top. He's going to turn you. 41, Yanni's going to get on top. He's going to turn you. 49, all top, Kaladzik, Ashnote, Jordan, they're all good on top. 57, Nolf, good on top.
Well, I mean, if we go back to 49, and again, we're talking about being good at all positions. Micah Jordan, in that match where he wrestled Ashnault, if Micah Jordan doesn't struggle on bottom or Anthony Ashnault is not superior on top, Micah Jordan probably wins that match. But because Anthony Ashnault was able to get those turns, he wins the match. Again, it's a 3-position game. This is not about being great at one position. This is a 3-position thing. And again, I'm not talking about your preference. I'm talking strictly about winning wrestling matches in the folk style wrestling under the scoring system, which I believe is fair.
Yeah, so I think maybe what those guys over there were saying is like it's more entertaining.
No, that's not what they were saying. And I think that's fair. If you want to say that's entertaining, that's fair. You can say that. But when you try to be very overly critical of the folk style scoring system just to make a point, that's not fair.
I would agree with you there. And as a coach and you as a coach and a high level athlete, like to say that there's no value in the top and bottom position is just ridiculous.
Yeah, to devalue it. Not fair.
Yeah. I mean, the team that we're going to be talking about here with Penn State and Arizona State, they've won their national titles based upon top and bottom, based upon the bonus.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go right into Penn State, Arizona State, and man, I don't want to get on a soapbox, Matt, but some idiots on Twitter I had to flip out because they were saying Kale only wins because he has talented recruits. Blah blah blah. Okay, you're ridiculous. And that's
terrible
take. And but I thought was interesting, Matt, is that the junior class right now of Arizona State was the #1 ranked class, and so to see how poorly they fared against Penn State. Obviously, Arizona State had a great recruiting class, and most of those guys listed are on their team are good recruits. Versus what Penn State's doing with their recruiting, you just see the difference. It's 41-3. There was really only one match in the whole bout that was competitive, right? I guess I'm sorry, one win for Penn State, which was competitive for Arizona State, which is the Heat mark,
right?
And so. Yeah, Penn State does. They get a lot and they do a lot with it. And listen, I am not a Penn State homer. I think I'm critical of Kale when it's fair, but I'm also giving him praise because he does a ridiculously good job. Okay,
well, I mean, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when the recruiting rankings were coming out, and it's not just about landing top guys. Every top program is landing top guys, getting highly ranked recruiting classes. It's what you do with that talent once it gets there. Yeah. And obviously, that's such a whatever that guy was saying on Twitter. It's such a ridiculous statement.
So ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think about this Hall Valencia match?
I was really impressed. You said it was competitive. I would argue against that. I would say it was a pretty complete domination. As a 4-1 match goes, that
was it 4-1 or 4-0?
No, 4-0.
4-0, right? Yeah, 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the importance of a ride. If we want to go back, that guy, Hall just threw a saddle on him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And he had opportunities. That's the thing for all those readers, listeners, watchers out there. Like Mark Hall understood how critical riding out Zahid Valencia was, and he did it. He would not. There were 10 different situations where a lot of high school kids or really good college kids would have just given an escape up. Well, say, I'll just wrestle this on my feet.
What did you think about the one, second period? I thought Zahid had to escape because he separates from Mark. Mark's feet were still in bounds, but the ref called him out of bounds. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I thought that was a suspect call.
I thought that was. I was confused as to why Arizona State didn't challenge that. Were they?
Yeah,
were they out of challenges by that point?
Well, you tell me. I thought he was out of challenges after 125.
I did. So I only watched. To be fair, I was busy. I was at the Cormier clinic. I watched 33. I watched 57, 65, 74 were the matches that I watched.
Yeah.
So he was okay. So he was out of challenge. That's why they didn't challenge. That's fair. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
because that was an escape. I thought. Yeah, Mark rode him hard. You know what I did, Matt? I was so surprised that Mark Hall kicked his butt so bad. I literally immediately went back and watched the NCAA final from last year to see if I remembered that wrong. And maybe Zahid got lucky on a few takedowns. But
no, he didn't.
He didn't.
He totally controlled him.
Yes, and so it's like, holy crap! I mean, that's like what I thought I remembered, and I wanted to rewatch it to make sure I wasn't like misremembering. And it was like he kind of kicked his butt in this match. I mean, obviously, you talk about how well he rode him. That was for sure. But I didn't really feel like Zahid was close to a takedown. What? I mean, am I wrong?
No, outside of that, I mean, Hall scored on a reattack.
But Zahid wasn't close to a takedown on that. He wasn't.
No, not even in that position. I mean, it's almost like that was right in Hall's wheelhouse. I mean, even though Zahid was in deep on that leg attack, that's totally where Mark Hall feels comfortable. That's he's wrestling right in to the wheelhouse and the powerhouse of Mark Hall. I mean, his core and his trunk is so brutally lethal with its power that he's like, okay, if I let him get to, he was going to let him get to one of his legs. Yeah. He knows that if I let Valencia get to both of my legs, that negates my defensive prowess. Yeah. But if he gets to one of my legs and I can split his power, then I've got a good chance there. And that's exactly what he did. But I mean, going back a little bit and with people's predictions before.
Okay.
Predictions before the match. I mean, based upon what Zahid did at the NCAA tournament, everybody, or by and large, people are saying he separated in a year.
Well,
he separated
it wasn't
Mark Hall.
Matt, it wasn't just what he did last NCAA finals, which he kicked his butt. It was also what he did in the spring. I mean, he beat freaking Alex Dieringer twice.
Top 5 wrestler in the world.
Top 5 wrestler in the world. So people were, and honestly, he was pretty damn competitive with Kyle Dake, and Kyle Dake won a world championship. So I think there were several things to where Zahid we felt like that. And I know I picked Zahid. And actually, I was giving the guy crap earlier, but I'll give him credit. Piles was one of the only people, I would say the only person that I saw pick Mark Hall. And so do you think that Zahid has regressed slightly? Do you think Zahid is possibly uninterested, possibly burnt out? Or do you think it was Rec Hall magic?
I think it's combination. And let's go through all your statements there. One, obviously, winning in that national title and the momentum he kept building throughout the spring at Final X and beating Dieringer and being competitive with Kyle Dake. This kind of goes back to the beginning of the show when we were talking about freestyle and folk style is completely different. And I'm not trying to discredit Zahid for the success that he had, this spring on the freestyle circuit, but I would say his prowess and his expertise in freestyle and maybe some minor deficiencies in folk style, meaning, his interest in riding people or getting off bottom, is a separating point. Obviously, we talked about this.
He escaped from Mark and rode Mark a little bit in the last match in the NCAA finals.
Yeah, but I would have to go back and watch that. But what impressed me with Hall, there were a number of opportunities that Hall could have just given Valencia an escape, but he was hanging on. He was a dog on the bone. He was even. You could tell he's like, I'm willing to give up a stall call here. Yeah. Because I know this is how important riding this guy out is. So if I get to my feet, I'm not going to let him go. Hit me for stalling. Give me a restart, or keep wrestling. Or there's a couple instances where he actually borderlined, shoving Valencia out of bounds, which, in a couple of the cases, might have said he pushed him out and could have awarded Valencia a point there. It was borderline at best if that were to happen. But Hall was willing to give up points. He was willing to give up a push out. He was willing to give up a stall call just to give himself another opportunity to stay on top.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I just didn't see Valencia having that urgency. And to your other points, Rec Hall definitely is a factor, especially when you get that type of momentum going.
I thought Zahid was the type of guy that it would defect. I thought Zahid would be ice cold and just wouldn't bother him at all. But obviously, I think it did. I think that, and we've talked about before that's probably the scariest place to wrestle in college wrestling right now, for sure.
That place gets to everybody. I mean, just back to your point with Neville's and Snyder last year. Snyder tried a lat drop.
What was he doing? I mean, I was there. I went to the match. I wasn't going to miss that duel. I flew out to that duel. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, so even in situations like that, the best guy in the world, a 3-time world champ, got a little caught up in the situation.
Yes, that's so true. So true. Okay, so
but I don't think Valencia is disinterested. I could see him thinking, all right, it's still first half of the season. My best wrestling's ahead of me. I'll be more prepared the next time around. I don't think Valencia is walking out of Pennsylvania thinking, what the heck? I don't have an answer. I'm in trouble here. Do you?
Man, no, I would say no, just based on his personality type, I would say that's definitely not the case. I mean, Mark Hall controlled the hand fight so much better than when I went back and watched the finals from last year. I mean, Mark Hall really controlled the hand fight, which is something he also didn't do in the NCAA finals. That he was much more aggressive, much harder snaps, much better fakes, and just kind of had Mark a little bit off balance the whole NCAA finals, and that definitely was not the case here in Penn State.
No, and I even liked, to your point about Mark Hall's hand fighting, it was superior. I mean, he did not, obviously, Valencia's most times looking for space to attack, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
To get to attacks. And Hall eliminated that strategy by not letting him breathe, keeping his hands on him, and not giving him space. Even when they were wrestling from space, they weren't wrestling from a foot of space. They were wrestling inches from space.
Yes.
And that definitely favors Mark Hall, wrestling in that close proximity. And then it really negated Valencia's shot volume. Because typically, what would you say? Valencia shoots at least 15 times a match?
He shoots a lot more. I mean, that's, like I say, he wasn't nearly as aggressive. He usually shoots a lot more than he did on Friday night. I
think maybe he had 5 attacks off the top of my head, and of those attacks, a couple legitimate ones.
Yeah, it was not near as much. So I just looked at all of their schedules. So Mark and Zahid will not meet again anywhere before nationals. Zahid will meet Amin in a duel on January 5th. So I think that's a big one to watch because Miles Amin has looked really good this year, and he's ranked number 3. So I think that'll be a good barometer for us of is this Zahid maybe on a little bit of the downturn, or is this Mark just turning it up? I think that'd be good.
I think it's Mark turning it up. I mean, there's a guy. He was wrestling with a purpose, even though it was December. Like,
yeah.
There was a purpose. There was a purpose and a message he was trying to send. And I even liked. I mean, Mark Hall is always physical, but he was ready with
that could have been
head clubs.
That could have been a little bit. I mean, I love the roughness, but just based on what. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to call it Rec Hall, right? But if that's somewhere else, that might be unnecessary roughness 1 point for sure, because he knocked the crap out of him. Yeah, that's for sure.
So he was. I kind of like that statement, like, hey, I'm ready to go there too. Like, I'm ready to beat you any way it takes. If you want to mix it up, if you want to get in a fist fight, let's go there, because I'll beat you there too.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. It was kind of like a laying down of the gauntlet by Hall. Like, how do you want to beat me? How do you want to beat me? Because I'm ready. I'm prepared to beat you whatever way you want to take this match. But you know what? I'm not going to let you take me anywhere. I'm going to dictate the pace and the strategy of this match.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, let's follow that. Obviously, we'll follow Zahid and Amin January 5th, and then we'll get to see Amin and Mark Hall on February 1st at the Bryce Jordan Center, and then we'll also see them at the Big Ten Championship. So we'll get to see quite a few matches there. So I finally, RBY finally wrestles a highly ranked opponent, but it's also a highly ranked opponent from a different weight class. They bumped Milhoff up, and I think why would you bump him up, Matt? What are they thinking? Are they thinking they could have got a win at 25 and 33? I guess that's what they're thinking.
I mean, that's the only way I could think of it. I mean, if the one hole Penn State has is at 125, and I tell you what, I like that kid.
Yeah,
he scraps. He knows he's behind it a little bit, but he comes out and he battles. But the only thinking I can think is you send out Brandon Courtney at 125.
He's good. Courtney's tough.
Very good. Very good. And had some really good takedowns, really good leg attacks beginning that match. So I would think, and then Milhoff, being a former All-American, being a top-ranked guy at 25, and Roman Bravo Young is not a big 133 pounder, right? So maybe they thought there wasn't any physical advantages, or disadvantages, I should say, bumping Milhoff up and being a 50-year senior against a redshirt freshman. I could see Zeke's thought that, okay, whoever we send out at 25, Courtney or Milhoff, we're definitely we're gonna win at 25. What's our best opportunities to start capturing matches after this? And that's probably the best logic Arizona's coaching staff could bring to the table. Is like, yeah, I mean, this increases our chances. It doesn't give us an advantage, but at least it increases our chances.
Yeah, and so 133. Bravo Young kicked his butt. I mean, this guy. I watched him a couple times, and it was against opponents who were not that great. I know Milhoff's undersized, but Bravo Young, he's good everywhere. He wrestles with a great pace. Man, I'm not telling you he's going to beat Dayton Fix. I'm not telling you he's going to beat Seth Gross. But he's a problem for all of them. He is. He's a problem. He can wrestle everywhere. He can wrestle bottom. He can wrestle top. He can wrestle on his feet. He can wrestle defensively. He can wrestle offensively. His pace is fantastic. I mean, I'm not seeing, like, a lot of times when I watch him, I say, oh, okay, well, this one thing will give them issues against Seth Gross. I don't see that with him. I don't see it. He's a freaking beast.
I hate to continue to beat the drum we started at the beginning of the episode, but
well, if it goes to the theme.
The one thing we were talking about with Roman Bravo Young at the beginning of the season is like, hey, he's a superior freestyler, right?
Yeah.
So how good is he actually going to be in the other important positions, top and bottom?
Yeah.
And what he's shown in the first 6 weeks of the season, he invested a lot of time in his redshirt year to really not just becoming competent on top and bottom. Like, he is good. He is good on top and bottom.
Yeah, he's a beast. And I love his down block go behind series. Then we call it the mantis when you're kind of hooking both armpits and going one way or the other way. And then he goes back to kind of reattacks, almost Suriano-ish, how he goes back to the reattacks. I'm excited. I got the Penn State schedule up here. When's the first time he's going to see someone super high level? Well, the Scuffle. So we'll get Dayton there. I don't believe Seth Gross is there. Is Suriano there? I don't know. Not sure.
I think Rutgers, don't they typically go to Midlands?
They usually go to Midlands.
But I thought you looked that up last week and said that Rutgers wasn't going to be at Midlands this year.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. 33 is turning into a hell of a weight class because we had Lezak bumped up, Suriano bumped up, Tariq Wilson really emerged. Dayton Fix got off his redshirt. Mickey Philippines looked great. Luke Pletcher's there. Austin Gomez has emerged. And now, Roman Bravo Young's inserting himself. I mean, this weight class, which wasn't great last year, is freaking phenomenal right now. And this is
loaded. I mean, there's a couple guys at the top that you could say with Fix and Soriano and a couple of those guys and Gross. You could probably say those guys are separated a little bit, but
really?
I would think
I don't feel like that. Like, I don't feel like that at all.
Really?
No, I don't feel like that at all. I feel like, okay, if you give me, I'm gonna give you these names right here: Gross, Mitchik, Soriano, Tariq Wilson, Dayton Fix, and I'm gonna throw Roman Bravo Young in there above a few of the others.
Yeah.
I give you those 6 names. They wrestle a round robin. I don't think you're gonna put a lot of money on any one of them going undefeated. Would you, Matt?
No, I mean, if you did a round robin 3 different weekends, I could see 3 different winners.
Yeah,
easily.
If you do a round robin, I don't think one of those guys is coming out undefeated. I mean, those 6 that I just mentioned there, I think that can go a lot of different ways. I don't have a high level of confidence saying anyone. So that's where seeding is going to come a big part. Seth Gross being the one, and he probably won't have to. I would say those 6 that I gave you, I think, are fairly likely to be 1 through 6 come NCAA tournament time. Obviously, I could see Pletcher getting there. I could see Philippi getting in there. I can see a few other guys getting in there, but yeah, man, that's a hard for me. That's a really hard pick 'em. That's great. I think that's probably the most fun when we have these weights where we don't really have any idea who's going to win. It's a lot. Not like we're good at 57. It's like, okay, I would literally. Take away injury, Matt, I would bet my house on Jason Nolf winning. Literally, my house.
Yeah, I mean, that was something I was going to bring up later, but who's the number 2 at that weight class? Who's the guy that's going to compete?
It doesn't it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, none of those guys. Nolf is so good, they're not touching him.
Yeah. So back to 33, because there's a couple things I wanted to touch on before we move to other things. So you're saying, in your estimation, based upon what you've seen by Roman Bravo Young right now, he's inserted himself into the upper echelon at 133.
I think
as
so.
Deep as
I think so. There's like, man, I could be wrong. I'm not usually wrong on these things. I know wrestling really well. And when I watch someone and I'm this impressed, and I kind of remember I held it back early. I was like, well, I haven't seen him in Folkstyle at a high level on top and bottom, so I'm not really sure about him yet. And then he beat up a couple guys who weren't very good. I'm like, I'll wait. I'll hold it for him. And now I'm just like, damn, he's just, the more I watch him, the more I'm like, he's so good everywhere. Like he's, and I'm not guaranteeing he's going to go undefeated or win national, but I'm telling you, he's going to be in the match with every one of those top guys that we mentioned. There's none of those guys are kicking his butt.
And in addition to his obvious skill sets in every area, the dude's got a gas tank, man.
Mm-hmm.
He brings pace. I mean, he brings heat for 7 minutes.
His pace
and
is great. Really good.
Yeah. So I did want to ask you this, because what Penn State did at 133 and at 165. And this is your wheelhouse. This is where I want to get your breakdown on these positions. Penn State was able to secure neutral near fall points from a leg pass position on their feet.
Well, no, wait. At the 33, I thought it wasn't a leg pass. It was more of like a crotch lock. He was locked in the crotch, correct?
It was similar, but it was. Yes.
I think it was a crotch lock type of situation. The one where Dean Howe used to always hang out in at 33.
Right.
But yeah. At 65, Matt, at 65, he not only got 2 near fall, he got 4 near fall. The way Chenzo held that leg pass with his, I mean, essentially in that situation, if you're not very in depth, it's your calf versus their whole bridge. I mean, it's like it's a tough position to hold. It's one that you don't see held very often. I was shocked that Vincenzo was able to hold him on his back there and get that. I mean,
but one thing that I noticed, and I think in Roman Bravo Young's, it was not identical to Joseph's situation, but the one thing they did, the defensive scramble did start on their feet.
Yeah.
And both of those, this is obviously an area where Penn State's putting a decent amount of time on mastering these positions.
Oh, and yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know if you noticed, but Roman Bravo Young and Joseph both attack the top hand as the guy was looking to leg pass and roll through.
What do you mean
Did
by?
you notice
I'm going to go back and watch. Well, I don't understand. What do you mean by attacking the top hand?
They were, instead of, a lot of times guys are, when a guy goes to a leg pass and they go to a funk roll.
Yeah.
A lot of guys looked at just adjusting their hips, like from side to side, or toe picking the back of a guy's head to secure and not letting him pass.
That's kind of what Vincenzo did.
But they both secured the top wrist.
Damn it!
So the guy couldn't. Not only were they sitting with their hips, they were also controlling a wrist. So the guy couldn't unlock his hands and he couldn't really base out.
Okay, hold on. I got this Chenzo matchup. I'm going back to watch exactly what you're talking about. Okay, they're in the. I'm close. They're in the review now. Okay, boom. This is Vincenzo. All right, I'm watching it right now. Hold on. Let me just see exactly what you're talking about here. So Vincenzo brings the leg up high from the shin wizard. Shields goes the leg pass right there. He is attacking the top hand. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's I mean, so I mean, that, yeah, I know. So he does let it go eventually and is holding with his heel. I guess what I was even more surprised about now that I'm watching this clip is that, Shields, Vincenzo is so strong that Shields isn't able to get through with his leg pass. I mean, to what you're saying about the top hand, I mean, Vincenzo holds his position even before that. So right there, he holds the position, and now he grabs the top hand and kind of holds him there. Yeah, and so you know why I would think they're doing that, Matt, is if you have the leg pass hand. Now, this is going to be hard to talk about without showing it. If you have the leg pass hand, it gets caught and it's more up by the knee crease. If you slide it down to the ankle, obviously the distance from the fulcrum, in this case, the fulcrum being your hip, right? Because you're trying to move their leg. The farther from the fulcrum, the easier it is to move, the more leverage you have. So if if your arm's caught up in the knee crease and is not able to slip lower, you're less likely to be able to bring that leg through. So I would guess that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
That makes sense, where your hip is the fulcrum. So the farther you get, okay. But yeah, this is
because Robin Bravo Young did a variation of this.
I'm going to go back and try to find that now.
Find that, and maybe this is some of the technique you can do. I know we're going to be doing some new technique with you coming up.
Okay.
I think this would be it's an added wrinkle into what you've already done. It was just something.
I hate to put words in their mouth, though. I hate to put words in Penn State's mouth. I don't want to say this is what they're doing when that's not really what they're doing. And to your point, I didn't even recognize that was what was happening, or they had made that little adjustment until you said that. So yeah, it would be that's it. I wish. Well, we know Kale ain't gonna tell us nothing. I wish I could ask Kale, what's this change you're making? He'd be like, "Bro, I ain't tell you that. I won't even talk to you." And I'm damn sure is willing to do an interview with you. Seriously. Wow. Okay. I'm going to try to, I can't find this Roman Bravo thing. I don't want people hold up. Matt, we talked so damn long about Penn State. We didn't even have time to talk about Cornell UNI. So we're going to have to save that for our next episode. Return of Yanni. He looked great. Aruja at 25. And then I know you want to talk about Womack. So yeah, that's, man, a lot of,
and 184 was another, a lot of these guys, like 74 and 84, these guys have met up multiple times in the last year and a half, 3 and 4 times. And each one of these matches has been great. Is there anything else from Penn State, Arizona State that we were
I guess we kind of focused on that first scramble with Vincenzo, but when I saw 9-2 or whatever the final score was, I kind of thought maybe it was a blowout, but it really was, right? It was that 6-point initial scramble that really caused the difference in that match. Vincenzo he's the one guy really at Penn State that just doesn't blow people out. Even when it's 9-2, it still kind of wasn't really a blowout.
So a lot of it is similar to, I want you to go on a rant on him like you did with Gable Stevenson, like, Vincenzo keeps scoring points.
I don't know that Vincenzo is as good as Gable is. I don't know. Is that fair? I mean, okay, so that's kind of now. I sound kind of insane because Vincenzo's going to be a 4-time NCAA champion. I guess which would lead you.
Did you just say a 2-time national champ? Not that good.
I didn't say not. No, I didn't say not that good. I definitely didn't. Don't put words in my mouth. I said he's not as good as Gable, and so maybe that might highlight how good I actually think Gable is, or maybe I just sound crazy. One of the two. But I don't know that Vincenzo has the ability to blow people out. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Yeah. Wow. Now, okay, we should just stop this before I say anything else totally crazy. So that was fun, Matt. Tomorrow, next time we will talk about. We got UNI, Cornell, great matches there. Nebraska, NC State, Nebraska, UNC, and that'll be about it. So I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Hope you guys all enjoyed it.
All right. Sounds good, Ben. We'll talk to you later.